Ooh, we got chili. All right, we're gonna try something new. This video is gonna be more of a narrative style video. If you're familiar with the lawn care juggernaut, it's gonna be something similar to that. Our channel's still fairly new, so we have no idea what format or style we're gonna go with. So we're gonna try a few things out and see what works best for us. Mic check, cool, we're recording. Alright, so as mentioned earlier in the video, this is going to be more of a narrative style video, explaining all the steps that we go through and why we do it, just as we try to figure out exactly what our video style is going to be. So this was going to be this style. So right here what you're seeing is me just blowing out all the bulk out of the flower beds and out of the yard so that I can see what we're working with. Immediately blowing everything off on the that right flower bed there, you can start seeing all those dead stems, all those dormant stems. Another thing is on the left, they're really small, you can't really see them in the video and it's shaded, but there's a lot of small sprinkler heads that I probably could have cut if I hadn't cleaned everything off. So it is a two-part cleanup. One is the bulk and then another is the detailed cleaning. Now at this point you might be wondering why I'm going down and around instead of coming back up the way I came in. And the reason for that is that there is a narrow staircase there, and it'll be really hard to get all the leaves back up the staircase without just making a really big mess. Coming down and around, I can make sure that I get everything cleaned up, just sweep the entire property, and there's a natural path, a natural graded path that'll make it easier for me to just drag everything out with a tarp. The way you will see later on in the video. Alright, at this angle you'll be able to see the little stems, the sprinkler heads, the sprayer heads that was underneath all of the green waste that was completely blocked out. So after cleaning everything out, after getting everything swept up on the grass, I come back, I get all the dead stuff trimmed up. The rose bush was also getting a bit out of control, so I got it under control as well. There are some grasses that need to be trimmed down as well. These plants prefer to do everything in the spring as opposed to getting everything prepped for the winter and the fall. Here's the rest of those tall grasses, the ornamental grasses. We get those trimmed down so that they're ready for the spring. There's also some smaller bushes, some dormant plants, similar to the ones we saw in the shop before. Just break everything out, get all the big stuff out of the way, and this is the stuff that we come back with a tarp and we drag away. Here is a bush and some more of the grasses that I got trimmed up. I forgot to move the camera, so you're not going to see the trimming, but you'll at least see the cleanup portion of it. Now there was a giant pine tree in the corner, and the pine needles, if anybody who works doing spring cleanups knows the pain of getting pine needles out of the way. So I had to go over this twice, one to get the leaves all out of the way, another to get the pines all loosened up and out of the grass, and then once over with the leaf blower again to get all the smaller stuff that the rake missed. Similar to before, we get all the bulk out so that we know what we're working with, and then we come back and we trim everything now that we have a visual on all the plants and all the grasses that need to be trimmed. Here we had a small bush, it looked like a grapevine that was growing over the rock, and some ornamental grasses that we needed to trim down. And because it was compressed between two rocks, it was a bit tougher to trim without damaging the blades on the hedge trimmer, but just being really careful and working around it, we got it done. Now here you're going to see how narrow that pathway was. So getting all of the bulk of the leaves and all the other green waste that we were blowing down was a bit difficult to move just because of how narrow it was. It was bunching up and it was becoming pretty heavy. But just keeping at it and knowing how to move a large quantity of leaves through practice, you kind of tend to figure it out. We got everything moved up down to the next area, and then I was able to come back and get everything trimmed up and cleaned. And now the fun part of the whole process, making a giant burrito and dragging that giant burrito across the lawn. If you've been following the channel for a little bit, you know that we have a debris loader. So why wasn't I using the debris loader for the spring cleanup jobs? The simple answer is that it isn't really worth having the debris loader. We don't do very many big cleanups like this. We do several small ones, small quarter to eighth of an acre properties. So stuff like this doesn't really come around too often to where we need to use the dump trailer. And also in the spring we do quite a bit of mulch installations as well. So having the leaf box and the debris loader on the back of a trailer while we're trying to do mulch installations is a nightmare. So between the small quantity of large spring cleanups that we do and the larger quantity of mulch installations that we do, this is just preferable. I'm just tarping everything, pulling it up onto the trailer, and disposing of it with the trailer that way. Another question you may be asking at this point is, why didn't I extend the tarp all the way to carry more green waste out at one time? Well, the camera angle is going to shift here in a bit, and you're going to see that it's very narrow. Both exits and entries to the lawn are very narrow. So extending the tarp all the way out I did try it with one load. Extending the tarp all the way out made it really big and made it very cumbersome. It made it very difficult, and I prefer to just make a few extra trips rather than having to deal with my tarp ripping on the landscape rock that the tarp was getting caught on. Same deal with these flower beds. We got all the bulk waste taken out of it so that I can see what was going on. There was a cable line and a sprinkler line, like a drip system line for that tree with the hose that's dead. I don't know why they're watering it. But if I wouldn't have been able to see those, I would have easily cut them. So always make sure that you're able to see what you're working with. Here you can see that incline that I was talking about earlier. It was easier to pull the tarp up through this instead of having to drag it up a set of stairs. And you can also see how narrow it is. It was easier for me to get that tarp folded in half up that slope instead of having the entire tarp folded out, because it was just too fat and too big, and it was a really bad trying to get that through. Alright, after getting the bulk of the waste out of the yard, out of the flower beds, onto the trailer. We go back and we put all the remaining debris back onto the lawn. First of all, we'll clean all the living areas, all the patio, all the walks, all the stairs, and then we go back and we do one more pass through of all the flower beds, just so that we don't leave an excess amount of garbage. In the flower beds, a couple leaves here and there are not a problem, but we put them onto the lawn because what we're going to do next is we're going to use the push mower with a bagger, like a vacuum. This makes it so that the grass is nice and clean as if it were vacuumed, right? And we always, at least on these first cleanups, it was still too soon to be cutting the grass, so we had the mower at least a quarter to a half inch taller than the grass itself. That way it was only doing the vacuuming, it was only doing leaf sucking, and it wasn't actually cutting any of the grass preemptively. And here we go with the mower, ensuring that the mower is taller than the grass. That way we're not actually cutting the grass. We go one way and then we technically cross cut. That way any of the small stuff that the mower missed on the first go around, we get to clean up on the second one, making it so that we leave a carpet-like finish. And of course, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we got the other side cut and cross cut, picking up all the debris that we had left over. Came over to the other side, and same thing. We go one way, pick everything up, and then cross cut everything on the second run. I missed some of the rosebush clippings there, so I just used the trash can that was available to just scoop them up. And here's the crosscut for that weird lima bean shaped portion. It is definitely annoying to try to get those angled cuts, but it is worth the result. Alright, now we just make sure we get everything loaded up, debris and tools alike. And that we distribute the weight evenly on the trailer. Alright, now we tarp everything down, strap on the tarps, and we head out. This tarp wasn't 100% necessary, but I did not feel like folding it, so I just put it on top of the trailer. One final walkthrough with the leaf blower to clean everything off, make sure all the walkways, paths, sidewalks, patios make sure all of that is clean, and then we load up and we get out of here. While the video is finishing up here, I just want to apologize for any weird angles or any missed work. Recording is not something I'm used to yet, and I still don't have all of the equipment necessary, like a tripod. I have a small handheld tripod that I just attach anywhere. So I appreciate you guys watching. Share if it's helpful, like, subscribe, you know, all the regular YouTube stuff. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Alright, we're gonna try something new. This video is gonna be more of a narrative style video. If you're familiar with the Lawn Care Juggernaut, it's gonna be something similar to that. Our channel's still fairly new, so we have no idea what format or style we're gonna go with. So we're gonna try a few things out and see what works best for us.